As a long-standing Call of Duty player, I've been able to sink a good few hours now into a brand new first-person hero shooter, FragPunk. And with that, this video will be the first in a new series called G.A.M.E.R.S Reviews. Yes, today I will be touching upon everything on the screen now, as with as little time wasted as possible, to give you a comprehensive first look at this free-to-play title and decide if it's something you're interested in trying for yourself. Is it a well-polished and honest 5v5 hero shooter breaking from the likes of Call of Duty? Or is it some insidious online casino masquerading as a game buried underneath a load of premium bundles? Let's find out. Upon opening the game, you'll be pleasantly surprised by the vibrant colours, jazzy steampunk character modelling, and some real general pizzazz to the appearance of the game. However, one quick scan of the game reviews on Steam do allude to the fact that a lot of this artwork has been AI generated, and as such has drawn a lot of negative attention. I'm not still quite sure how I feel about AI in creative industries. By jumping up and down and shouting, AI is evil, I feel a bit like some Luddite from the 1800s, wanting to break up the cotton mill machinery that's put some 7-year-old child out of work. I appreciate this isn't the exact same scenario, but I think there's a balance between technological progress and ethics or labour saving. But before this becomes some sort of philosophical history lecture, let's get back on track. This game looks great. If you've been used to the struggles of attempting to see your opponent in the Call of Duty gulag behind a barrage of muzzle flash, smoke and visual recoil, you'll be delighted to find that none of that nonsense exists here. In fact, opposition team members are even highlighted with a golden glow to tease the treasures that await you should you manage to cut them down in a hail of gunfire. That is, of course, unless they're using some sort of cheesy superpower that makes them invisible. A bit more on that in a bit. From the menus, the UI, the weapon selection screens, and most importantly, during rounds, there is no denying that this is a great looking game. I have been running it with graphics settings set to high and achieving buttery smooth frame rates on what many would consider an upper end mid-range PC. So having established that the game visually has more polish than the boots of a Queen's Guardsman, you can also take reassurance that the audio is equally high quality. The soundtrack is great, it adds some good atmosphere when in menus and indeed during the game too. And unlike Call of Duty, I haven't had to turn everything off to maximise the chances of hearing some hint of footstep audio in the distance. No, in fact, footstep audio is almost too loud if anything. To be honest, no, it's probably not. It's more likely that, at this point from COD, my hearing has become more accustomed to detecting teeny bits of audio than a sonar operator of a nuclear attack sub.
Console, not crazy, Ivan!
So you can pinpoint the direction of enemies coming at you with ease, and no one will be stabbing you in the back without warning. Unless they're using an invisibility superpower. I really need to talk about that. On to the mechanics and gameplay. There are some typical FPS modes such as free-for-all, team deathmatch and glue knight grab, aka kill confirmed. But these are all on a 15-minute rotation, for now at least anyway. But that's because they are a sideshow to the main event, Shard Clash. This sounds new and unfamiliar, and that's because it is. You start by picking your character, or Lancer as they're known, on a first-come, first-served basis. A team may have no more than one of each type of Lancer, so if one character has some absurdly OP superpower, let's pluck one out of the air, I don't know, perhaps invisibility. Well, only one of you gets to abuse this so it doesn't descend into a stale game of hide and seek, like a Warzone Solo's Final Circle. You picked your character, now we need to pick your weapons. But fear not, you may not have access to all the shiny camos that await, but you do have access to all the guns from the very start. There is no leveling required and they do not have customizable attachments. Anything you earn in terms of weapons later on will be cosmetic only. Before you finally launch yourself into a game of search and destroy to either plant and detonate a bomb as an attacker or attempt to defend the 2 bomb sites, the last step will be to select your team's shard cards. And for FragPunk, this is their proverbial David Blaine pulling a card from his sleeve. And to any younger viewers that don't know who David Blaine is, he was a very successful magician in the 1990s. And to any younger viewers that don't know what magician is, it's like a real-life Walmart version of Doctor Strange. I digress once again. So you and your team members spend your shard points on shard cards, which will give you additional buffs during that round only. It could be additional health or speed, or perhaps you could force your enemies to crouch walk when you hit them with your bullets. The cards are selected at random each round, and it's a team decision to decide how to use your limited points. Or perhaps save them for the next round altogether. though you earn more sharp points during each of the rounds, and the number of points awarded will increase depending on how well you've done. The attackers and defenders swap over after a couple of rounds, and it's a case of first to win 4 rounds wins the match. However, if the rounds get to 3-3, both teams will instead enter a really cool tiebreak situation called Duel. It's a bit like some sort of 1v1 Team Royal Rumble. The opposing players all line up against each other with 1 life each to take it in turns in a 1v1 arena. Winning players will stay on to face the next opponent without any health regen until one of the teams has had all their players knocked out. This was genuinely a really fun addition in this game, and I can imagine if you were in a team with friends, all on voice comms, this would be amazing fun. Just a very quick note on that, during roughly the 10 hours of game time that I've clocked up so far, I've heard next to 0 in-game comms. Either it's die-hard pals in Discord chat rooms, or shy randoms, I don't know. But don't go in expecting lots of shouts and banter between teammates, let alone opposing teams. That being said, I found players have generally played the objective and have appeared to at least try and play like a team using the ping system and text chat. Also, with it being a 5v5 single life mode, if you're landed with uncoordinated chimps, compared to sprawling 64-player games like Battlefield, there is the real possibility that you can still single-handedly turn the tide of any match if you possess the skills. As a COD player, I wasn't sure if I could be bothered learning all the new lancers and their special abilities, but in reality, after only a few hours, I was figuring out what they all do and what to expect from enemies, even if I wasn't fluent with using the abilities yet myself. I'd say for something that was completely new to me, it wasn't that difficult to start picking up, but I can already see hints when spectating some players that there is a vast skill ceiling to grow into. The peak of where you can get to with this game will look something of a cross between SEAL Team 6 and the boys. Some of the Lancer's special abilities are absurdly overpowered. There is a one-shot rocket launcher, a magic flash that can completely blind enemies when they look at you, and then, in case I haven't mentioned it yet, invisibility. But the special abilities are supposed to feel overpowered by design. There is a deliberate pause in between using a power and switching back to your normal guns to leave you vulnerable for a moment. And for each special ability, it looks like there is a counter. For example, even invisible knife-wielding enemies can be spotted using a special sniper scope or movement-detecting beacons. While we're on the subject of the overpowered invisible character that you have to use in-game currency or prizes to unlock, let's move on to the #GambleAware elephant in the room. This is a free-to-play game. I downloaded it for free, and I have been playing it completely for free. In fact, in the hours I've been playing, I've already managed to unlock 2 of the Lancers, which are not part of the starting set, as well as a whole swathe of random stickers which I haven't yet figured out a use for, and then a load of weapon skins, character skins, customizations and charms. But it is impossible to get away from the monetization in this game. Even for someone like me that prides themselves on keeping free-to-play games actually almost free by never spending more than just a couple of quid on them. That's $1 for my American viewers. I have already been really annoyed by the in-your-face shoutiness of their store purchases and events and loot boxes and battle passes on offer, etc, etc. Personally, I am very hard over in the opinion that randomised loot boxes in particular should be banned in games, because it's a form of gambling. Let's just keep that and all that brings in an adult-only environment where bookmakers and casinos can attempt to deal with that ethically and responsibly. At the start of each round there is a fruit machine, which dishes out weapons or shard points. You're unable to spend money on this, but I genuinely think it's a device to get you in the mindset of gambling and getting into the store to splash that cash. The array of menus and events is so overwhelming that unless you just ignore them until the end of your session, you can spend more time in between rounds checking out shiny new things you've won or earned than actually playing the game. Games do feel short, and although queue times are lightning fast, there does feel an imbalance between how much of your time is spent in the match versus how much is outside of it being surrounded by a Roblox-esque sordid orgy of clicking. My son loves that game, and between my age and seeing how that drip for dopamine dulls the senses, I possibly am biased in my dislike for all the jingly-jangly distraction rubbish in the menus. I can't tell you how to feel about it, but it's there. If you play the game, you will have to deal with it. You can make your own judgment. Having covered most of the essence of this game now, let's talk about its future replayability or endurance. Aside from anyone developing a legitimate gambling addiction, how long will this game keep you coming back for? This is a very personal question because it will largely come down to how the hero shooter format grabs you, but for me personally, I think this is a novel game with some very fun ideas, but it is lacking in some depth. Despite the additional modes on rotation and the somewhat underwhelming zombies infected style mode, Shard Clash is the bread and butter for FragPunk. Now, I occasionally like a bit of search and destroy, but I know there is a very loyal and committed, almost religious following of S&D in COD. And while I would like more variety, I am certain many folks will be happy playing nothing but this game on repeat, especially if they hook up with some similarly interested teammates that can start getting into the rank mode with. The events I've seen are pretty dull. They're just another battle pass in essence, another uninspired list of basic tasks to complete to unlock more shiny things. The game is new out. The developers are working on their final tweaks to get it ready for console release anytime now. So perhaps in the near future they can work on developing better variety of experience by way of limited time modes, events, or tweaking the playlists. I've mentioned the graphics are smooth, and the game queue times were super fast. I mean, maybe up to 5 seconds for a game of Shard Clash. When I go back into my first game of Warzone, queuing for a game is going to feel like going back to the days of the old Commodore 64 and waiting for that tape cassette to slowly roll round to 120 on the counter. Holy. But after getting more hours into the game, I saw that not everything was perfect. Steam reviews have mentioned it, but in my final gaming session, the servers went down. Game chat was working, but no one could connect to the game. Maybe it's a mandated break from the gambling regulators to stop you losing your house or something. I don't know. Also, while a movement and bullet hit reg felt more directly connected than getting your man parts caught in your zipper, I did have some weird quirks when spectating people. They would appear to see things just out of sight that I couldn't see. Now, this may be an issue with spectating, just like in Warzone, or it could be a result of cheating. Astonishingly, I do believe there are already cheaters in this game. While the game has an anti-cheat, the talk is that it's not particularly strong, and in the time I've been playing, I am fairly certain I've encountered both a cheater on my team and a cheater on the opposing team. I witnessed them both shooting at invisible enemies when they had no means of seeing them, which looked to me like wall hacks. It was possibly some sort of game mechanic I'm not aware of yet, but I don't think so. And when I asked in global chat about cheating, someone told me they had already gotten at least one player banned, so it does seem like there is already an issue there. I didn't encounter any bugs, glitches or crashes though, so overall, aside from the game servers going down sometimes and potential cheating, the game is actually pretty flipping good in terms of reliability and network performance. To round this review up, was the game satisfying? Despite all the store jazzle and potentially thin game material, did I walk away having enjoyed my experience? And would I come back to FragPunk? And the simple answers there are yes and probably not. It's free to play, it took very little investment of time to get up and running in a game. There wasn't even a tutorial other than when you get matched against bots in what's supposed to be your first online match. But to try my hand at this game cost me nothing. So in that respect, I can't feel disappointed or cheated, even if the game had been a disaster. Which it's not. It's certainly not a disaster. In fact, it's actually quite fun with something genuinely new on offer that really broke away from the Warzone solos experience. But I liken it to Call of Duty multiplayer, except with even less variety. Okay, let's not dwell on Black Ops 6, but while generally I prefer Warzone over Call of Duty multiplayer, I also preferred Call of Duty multiplayer over this. Much like eating gnocchi, I'm glad I tried it, and a lot of people absolutely love it, but it's just not for me. However, maybe you're a FragPunk lover, but you just don't know it yet. So whether you try it on PC now or wait for the release soon on console, I would recommend you give this game a go. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider leaving a like. I'd love to see you back here on the channel soon. But for now, I'm out.